How's it going, everybody? This is Seer here, and today there's a Strike Force content update video. Now, a couple people were asking if I watched this, if I did going to do a reaction video to this. The answer is yes. Now, I do want to preface this that this was recorded before Overpowered came to the game, and for everything that's kind of going on in the game right now, there's a lot of good things coming to the game. I can definitely vouch for that. However, it's just being overshadowed because of the overpowered situation, and that is really unfortunate. So I'm going to try to be as objective to this as I can. However, there are going to be moments I'll probably pull up like a blog post or something and just kind of get my 2 cents in there. And I hope this doesn't turn into like an overpowered rant video. You probably notice I haven't made as many videos, and I only streamed once this weekend. It's not a coincidence. Overpower is just killing a lot of the fun for me. This is probably the first time where I didn't really want to do video or stream or anything because of what Overpower has kind of done to me. So let's go ahead, take a look at this video. We're going to be objective, but I'm still going to be honest about it. Let's go ahead, check this out.
I'm Ryan Jacobson, General Manager of Marvel Strike Force, and with me today is...
Hi, I'm Rich Waters. I'm a Game Director for Marvel Strike Force.
You want to quickly start talking about ages and what we're thinking about there? I know we sort of set the goals, right, which is creating short-term, long-term chases for our players, making it so that players got great rewards from a lot of the core modes that they necessarily haven't been getting for some time, and then creating a seasonal shop, right? And the seasonal shops that we're thinking about are our chapter kind of stores, adding great variety in ways that we've never done before, and giving the players more agency and choice, but also giving them things that I think they really, really want. And I know we learned a lot from some of the little shops that we've done, but ages is one of the things I'm really excited for this year. And you want to talk a little bit about kind of what you might be excited for with ages?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so they were talking about the shop, and I actually listened to this part before, so a little spoiler. I highly disagree with that. So this is the blog that they had where it's talking about the currency conversion and everything. You kind of see what the conversion ratio is going to end up being. Blitz right here and the Elite Cosmic Crucible, those had the highest at a 1-to-4 type of odds. So for every 1 Blitz credit you get 4 of the Intel shop currency. The gear credits is a 5-to-1, so you're actually losing out on that. That's fine. We have so much of those. Arena right here, where we basically get our training mats right now, and then we have the elite war credits, and then it kind of goes down to like a 1-to-2, except for this 1 point or 2.22 type of thing. There really isn't agency. The reason I say that is because these are the things that's going to be in the shop. New character shards, great. That is fantastic. However, this is my turn into like an overpowered video. The way overpowered is, and the way the current events basically are taking G20 away from us, because if we go in game, I'll try to get this loaded up while I'm kind of talking about this. Currently in game, there's 2 events going on. There's the Alliance event, then there's the regular event that's in the command center. They stripped about 30 to 40 gear tier 20 pieces on us. They took a lot of gold away from us. I reported this last night. Somebody brought it up on my Discord. I believe it was Dad brought it up, so shout out to you. I was going to do that, just it slipped my mind because I got so busy yesterday. We lost a lot of important pieces on there. And if that's going to be the norm, this gear tier 19 and 20, specifically the 20 is the most important thing you're going to see in this Intel store. Normally, I try to get these character shards or characters to about 6 stars, and then I organically get them up to the 7-star mark by like opening orbs, just regular playthrough, events and everything. If they are going to start taking characters away from us, this is still loading, if they're going to start taking those characters away from us, and that's actually going to hurt us. So them saying they're giving us agency, they are, but they aren't. I don't think they kind of factored in on us losing that many X coins while the Race to X event is still going on. The shop ends in about 6 to 7 days. I think it's like 6. It's going to hit 6 days once it hits the reset mark today. And that's not good because these Gear Tier 20 pieces are so important on us because this right here is what gets us the overpowered, and it is game changing. And I don't care what people say, it really is. So if we end up going here in game, you can kind of take a look at the events right now. So in the milestone, so many pop-ups, the Red Justice event right now, if we look at this, this is the Alliance event. Why is there an Origin gear piece locked behind the Whalestone along with 4 Armory 20 orbs? This does not make sense to me. This right here should all be under achievable in like the 17 to 19 range. If we go over here to the event that just ended, which is the Crimson Storm, this was amazing. We got the monthly currency, or not monthly currency, we got the monthly digits to go to the monthly milestone. Right here, we got 6 gold orbs. There's another 8 gold orbs. There's 10 gold orbs, 12, 15 gold orbs. That's a lot of gold orbs already. We also get the Havoc shards that they were kind of giving out every week. So this was a weekly thing, and I loved it. We got mutant gear pieces right here. There's the Origin. This right here was the only thing that was not achievable usually, or 19 was achievable. 20 was achievable, and then they kind of took it away from us. They kind of moved the carrot on us, which I actually hated that. But this was good. This right here, not good. So we're losing out on so many pieces. Now you're thinking it's like, well, that didn't have X coins in it. Normally we had events that had X coins tied to it on the off weeks of the leaderboard. So we lost out on a lot of X coins right there that goes to the Gear Tier 20 pieces. Now, if we go to the command center, this event right here, it's just really shards. This is the free unlock for Silver Sable. Then here we get some training orbs. We get 6 million gold. All those gold orbs, to me, usually got more than 6 million gold on there. And the objectives, there's a little bit more gold, but not enough. And there's no Gear Tier 20 pieces in there. And we can see there's 15 days left. There's 5 days left. There's going to be 10 days, and that should be a bio leaderboard and no X coins. Because the X coin shop right here, this is going away in 6 days. So whatever you have, I'm done with the X coin shop now, unless you end up spending money on it. So they really missed the mark on that, and them putting the Gear 20 right here in that, it's not good. So that's my rant on it. Hopefully that's going to be the end of the rant. But let's go ahead and get back to this video.
Yeah, I mean, the next age coming up is Age of Annihilus, and it's a really big narrative beat for us. I haven't felt like we've had as much of a strong story presence in the game as I would like to have, and as I'm sure players would like to have since the Age of Apocalypse. And so this has given us a chance to really structure everything around the game events, around the content that we're serving up, around the way that we're really giving the game out to players in something that is narrative driven. And there's big functional elements, like you said. We will have currencies you're earning through playing the modes that you're already playing and enjoying, with really valuable things you can get with those currencies. Rotates on a quarterly basis. And so we're shifting a lot of things in the game into this new Ages mode, but it should be very much in your face that Age of Annihilus is...
We just talked about that. Sorry, I didn't mean to pause right there. We just talked about that as far as like the miss that's going to be the Intel shop. So I hope they prove me wrong about that. The narrative beats I definitely agree with. If they go back to how it was with Age of Apocalypse, those were very cool. We had cinematic videos. There was a very cool story about Morgan Le Fay freeing Apocalypse, then Apocalypse getting the Horsemen together. It was very cool, very narrative driven. So if they go back to that, that's going to be a huge win.
The thing that you're doing right now, and everything is building towards that across the board.
Yeah, I think one of the things we've struggled with recently, right, is that kind of immersion, that sense of immersion that we're giving to our players.
I think one of the key things is, as we rebalance it, as we think about how to shift to this new system, is making sure no one feels any sense of loss. If you had currency balances, then you're still going to have the same buying power in game with those that you always have. If there were things you like to purchase from the War Store or the Crucible store, all those things are still available to you. So we're trying to be very careful that there's no sense of loss whatsoever. There's no way that you could feel like, oh, hey, this didn't work out well for me. And in addition to that, the new seasonal store ought to have prizes that you care about, rewards that you're interested in, so that playing the modes that we have, playing War, Crucible, Arena, Raids, anything, is going to translate into things you want. And so, yeah, looking forward to getting that changed.
Yeah, and I think the other thing with the way that we're trying to make pretty massive changes, right, to the way that the legendary characters are going to be rolled out. Each chapter being 3 months long, but a distribution of 810 plus shards of these legendary characters, only given out through engagement, no monetization attached to them whatsoever, so that all players, right, can go after and get kind of the best characters that we put into the game. I think also is going to be a really exciting thing that people should be really looking forward to.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's something that people aren't talking about. That's actually so cool. The blog right here, the new age of events and milestones, they said it right here. Month 1, we're going to get 200 quasar shards that lets us unlock them at 4 yellow. Month 2, there's going to be more stars, rank them up. Then by month 3, we're going to have the free legendary 7 stars, and nobody's talking about it, which is a shame. They also had in another blog, let me see if I can find that here really quick, the Quantum Legend. I believe in here they talk about the red stars. Yeah, so the red stars, whether you call them trials or scourges still, we can agree that we can't miss the opportunity. This is where we're going to get the red stars. So this is staying in the game to where we're able to really get red stars also for free on this character. And we do need Thunderbolts basically to get, it's like required. They said there's going to be 3 teams. That's the first team that's going to be required on it. So this is very cool, but nobody's talking about it because of what's currently going on in the game right now. But let's go ahead and jump back over.
Yeah, that makes sense. With the legendary characters, we tried something recently with Lilandra and made sure that people could go in and engage and earn a great character that way entirely by playing. And so we'll be doing that with the legendary characters leading up to Annihilus. But then, like you were saying, in the seasonal shop, any new character might be something you can chase pretty easily. And so it doesn't really pull you out of that sort of engagement loop for going after things you care about.
I'm really excited about that change, and I know there's a ton of other things that we're still working out around kind of the ages and some of the structural stuff we're putting there. But I think there's also massive changes that you've put a lot of time into around war. You want to start talking a little bit about some of the war stuff we're thinking about?
Yeah, sure. We can move on to war. War is something that we've had a chance to talk to players, get a lot of feedback, look at the data that we have, and we've seen that over time, the commitment it takes to play war, how many hours a day that you need to get into it, if you're in a serious competitive alliance, has just really shot through the roof. And as we thought about that, that's not the experience we want people to have. We want it to feel like you're collaborating with your alliance, you're playing together, you're making interesting decisions at a high level, but then everyone's going out and sort of doing what they need to do individually. And what we found instead is, because of the way we run our efficiency system in the war scoring, that players feel like the war captain has to really go and tell them all of the attacks to do, because even one missed attack can lose you the war. And so it's a tough experience on war captains, and it's less fun for you as a player because someone's telling you everything you should do, which is rough. So we're looking at some big war changes now, and those center around shifting the strategy for war to a higher level, so that people are talking in their alliance, collaborating about how do you attack the enemy base, what rooms do you want to go through, what order do you want to attack them, and moving that focus away from the individual battles, where people feel like they can't fail even one of those battles. So some of the things we're doing there are going to be adding more interest in room rules, so it matters which rooms you pick in which order to attack, making more impactful choices in the decisions around what rooms do you want to score in, what rooms do you want to place your boosts in, just making sure all of the decisions above the individual battles really matter to players, to make that a mode that feels replayable and not like the same war every week.
Yeah, I think
I hope they do something with the boost, because right now the boost really doesn't really do anything for me. On maybe use like 2 boosts a war, but it just doesn't do enough. Switching out the room rolls, I think would be very cool and interesting. I'm curious to see what other changes and how this is going to be implemented, though. The people I do talk to that's in those high end wars, they do put a lot of work in. So huge respect to those people that's able to keep that up, because that would be so draining on me personally.
The kind of collaboration part that you touched on is the big thing for me in terms of allowing alliances to try and figure out what do they want to do together rather than being micromanaged on my attacks per attack.
Sure.
That doesn't sound very fun. And yeah, I think some of the things that you've outlined as the goals for the changes, I think are going to be really positive. And I know we're also looking at Battle World. And there was a lot of critical feedback. There was some positive feedback when we released that mode. And I know we learned a lot, kind of what you were saying, right? Talking to our players and looking at the data. I know that's another one that we want to try and find some time development resources against before the next one comes out in September. How are we thinking about trying to update that mode?
So our next Battle World's coming out in September. New boss, new mechanics. We'll be updating a lot of things that were pain points the first time around. If you're in a less engaged alliance, or maybe not a full alliance, you'll still be able to make progress day to day. You won't feel like you're stuck in zone 1, for instance. Be looking at special operations, making sure that those are a little more of an interesting puzzle that you want to.
All right, so Spec Ops is coming back in Battle World. That's confirmed there, right? But yeah, this Battle World's going to be about 4 months away, because we're near the end of April right now. I hope they take what they did in the Xavier Saga and implement that. As what I mean by that is those boss fights were very interesting. If we can get one of those boss fights in Battle World every single day, that would be huge engagement to try to do that, because right now it's treated as raids. It's raids 2.0 or 3.0, because we have our chaos raid, we have our spotlight raid, and then once a month we have a week of doing the Battle World raids. That's basically what it's come down to.
Go through each day and figure out, hey, how do I best collaborate with people on this one? Yeah, and like I said, that new boss. Yeah, I don't know if there's any
Yeah,
boss.
I mean, I always spoil everything, right? So
Yeah.
I always tease or give out the info. If you want to give out the info, give it out. Tell them.
Well, and this next boss will be Sentry in Battle World, and Sentry's a
Shocker. We all knew it, right? When RJ basically said he's going to be in the next MCU this year. There's 2 movies to choose from. We knew it was going to be Sentry. Now, Sentry, you can't have Sentry without Void, so there's going to be some interaction on there, right? So I'm actually really hyped for this, especially if they do Sentry justice. Because Null, they did some justice. I think Null could have been a little bit more comic accurate. So that's my only thought.
a big deal, a very interesting character, and we're starting to work on it already.
Yeah, Sentry is one of my favorite Marvel characters. I mean, he's coming into the Thunderbolts, so he'll be in the MCU. And, you know, I think with our team and what we can do on the animation side and the VFX side, and having the Sentry and the Void, and hopefully we can create some really cool dynamics there. I'm really pumped up and excited to see him come into the game. Yeah, I think for us, right, you and I have talked a lot about it, which is as the game matures, we've kind of painted ourselves into corners at times, right, where we put out a solution that we think helps all player types. And a lot of the times it doesn't, right? It doesn't work that way. And I think Battle World is that perfect example of us learning a lot from what we could do, what we wanted the mode to do, what we thought it was going to do, and then it did a lot of the complete opposite things that we actually thought it was going to do. And so, yeah, I know we're trying to look at how
they took away the bleed mechanic. Something that was very interesting on the boss fight for Null was coming up with the bleed team, because the community kind of figured this out, and then they took it away. Also, Astral, if you guys didn't notice, they're not doing their max percentile damage that they're supposed to be doing, so it's just a huge flop, and I really hope they can kind of right the ship for Battle World, because that still has a lot of potential.
we get away from that one size fits all. And then I think you also touched a little bit on kind of Spec Ops, which was one of those things that we didn't necessarily think was going to kind of hit us the way that it did. We always just figured people would just kind of randomly throw some characters in there, but then it became another chore kind of for alliance management to kind of figure out who's putting.
Excuse me, how do you not think that's gonna happen? To push on leaderboards, we need to get as much as we can get done, meaning we have to do the spec ops, and then every single day we had to log in, go to the spec ops, throw those characters on there because we needed spreadsheets and the player roster, and then we had to purchase these diamonds to basically fill the requirement of that, so you can actually push the leaderboard to get null. That is a huge oversight if they did not think that was going to happen. That's on them.
Which characters into which slots. So how are you thinking of kind of spec ops in terms of removing these layers of just kind of an overhead that we are putting on players?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think all of the features we're looking at right now, when we're figuring out what kind of gameplay we put in them, we really are thinking about how are you playing it. Is it something that you're just trying to do quickly each day? Like raids are a check-in. Raids aren't supposed to be deeply thoughtful experience. But if it's something new, something like a battle world, wants to be interesting puzzle, an interesting thing that you'll do day over day and think, oh, I'm glad I'm going to try something new this time. In a lot of cases, that's something different people might think a different strategy is good. It's not like there's an obvious one way to win this. And so we need to get that kind of gameplay and replay in there. And replay is a big factor in what we're trying to do going forward. And so I don't have an exact answer for what Spec Ops is going to be, but I know that for it to be good and something we want to ship, it needs to be engaging and something you look forward to doing. Maybe something you'd do if there wasn't a reward attached to it. Not forever, because I know rewards are a big deal, but you might go, hey, this is actually fun. I wouldn't mind doing this again tomorrow.
Agreed.
Probably worth talking about roguelike a little bit as far as something that's sort of customizable. One thing, just tying it back to the not one size fits all. Going into that, there's a difficulty setting, so you can tune it up, tune it down, so you can get something much like Scourges that suit your ability. But it should be an exciting mode, and again, very replayable.
I'm personally super excited about roguelike. I don't want to speak on your behalf, but I would say it's probably the thing you're most excited about that we're getting out this year, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it represents a real difference in how we develop. Battle World was something we worked on for 2 years, and we put it out there and said, hey, I hope this works. And it had its pros and cons, but it didn't really work as well as a development method as we'd like. So with roguelike mode, we're doing a rapid prototype in-house. We're getting lots of player feedback along the way. We're expecting to put that out in the world for people to play with in a way that we can easily expand, tune, tweak going forward. And that's more of the mode we want to be in. That's the excitement of a live game, right? You can connect with the community, you can put something out in front of them, you can hear what they think, and make it better.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot of players out there still that I don't know if they necessarily know what roguelike or roguelite modes are. Do you want to kind of just quickly touch on what these game modes are?
Yeah. In Marvel Strike Force, it'll let you use the squads and characters you already love in a core combat experience, but working your way through a map, like a raid map, like a tower map would be, you're working your way from node to node, and you're getting some different choices along the way. Each time you go through that map, it'll be a little bit different. The enemies you're going to fight are going to be different with each battle. We're using procedural enemy generation for the first time, so you're not seeing the same waves over and over again. But along the way, there's also combat mods and other things that you'll get. And so each run, you have a little bit different character roster to play with. You have a little bit different enemy challenges to play with. You have a different set of maps and things to do along the way. We're trying to get that to be quick battles, one wave of enemies each. You should be able to do a whole playthrough of this run in 30 minutes, and it's built to be replayable and fun again. So that's why I'm excited about it.
I'm excited about the procedurally generated kind of combat as well, right? Where we're going to be looking at a lot of the data in War, Cosmic Crucible, understanding what teams people are using and some of those combinations. And then we're going to start to throw those out there into roguelike. And so it's going to give you, to your point, right, some really choices that you're going to have to make around kind of, do I want to level up my characters and the teams that I'm coming in with, or which buffs do I get? What there's just a lot of randomness, I guess, right? Which we don't.
That actually sounds really cool. So I can see how the people that went to the summit was very excited about that. That sounds very cool. Hopefully they can stick the landing on that one though.
have in the game today, because everything's pretty static and at this point. And this, I think, is going to be so refreshing to players, like, as you kind of touched on, right? A new way to play with all these characters that you love, in ways that you've never been able to before. And so, yeah, it's one of those things that I definitely am. I'm really looking forward to it getting out. And as you kind of touched on, I think Battle World, again, we learned so many lessons. 2 years of development, threw it out there, and then it didn't do what we actually thought it would do, and what we wanted it to do. And so, yeah, I think that kind of rapid development that we're trying to do now and get things into players' hands, try and get a lot more feedback through play tests with the player council, a lot of our content creators and just players in general also is going to be beneficial to us. And so, yeah, I'm really, really excited for this. And then I know this is kind of what we're calling, the MVP of it. Once it's in the players' hands, then we're going to really see what other development we want to put against it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to continue growing there. And I think that's a good way for us to develop in the future, is putting something out there that we've built to be extensible, that we go, hey, this is the part players are liking about it. Let's do some more of that. Touching again on the procedural combats, that ought to be something we can really roll out into other modes of the game also, because right now we've got a really capable creative team of missions designers, but it takes a while to make content. And most days we talk about, we could use 5 times as much content if we could get it. So we're using PvP defense teams as the basis for the roguelike, but we also expect we can expand this into just all sorts of interesting team combinations. We've got the missions designers making interesting pairings. These characters go well together. These characters make an interesting puzzle for play. And then how do we use procedure to make those into just more content for people to play? So this won't replace the high-end content, the very puzzly content, things like Dark Dimensions or Scourges, but for a lot of things like showcases, we can just put out great content more quickly for people. And I think that'll help us in a lot of ways.
I agree. I mean, I think you touched a little bit on it, is what we learned from the Age of Apocalypse. There were so many positive things and kind of the way that we had set up that arc, but then there was also some things that we learned that probably weren't great on the player side, right? In terms of, I must build this team to unlock this legendary that maybe I didn't necessarily want to build up. And I think those are some of the positive things that this one is actually trying to avoid it very intentionally.
And then they did that again with the Xavier saga. So yeah, having it to where there's those recommended characters in the Xavier saga, making it to where they get those buffs, meaning that you do want to use those characters and kind of have to use those characters. I don't think they kind of learned the lesson from the APOC saga, because at least the APOC saga, they were more straightforward, saying you have to use these. Whereas if you bring somebody like Old Man Logan to Global Heroes, you're kind of screwed and you have to replace that character. So I don't think they kind of learned their lesson per se.
Yeah. Yeah, moving into Age of Annihilus, you mentioned earlier that there will be a number of legendaries that lead up to Annihilus himself, and that you'll get those through engagement. So maybe a question that people might have is, what does that mean for Scourges? You used to get your legendary through Scourges. How do those fit in the picture?
Yeah, so the way I think I'm thinking about it right now is that Scourges, we love Scourges, right? I think that's one of those modes where, depending on you and kind of the puzzle you want to put together and kind of the points that you're trying to go after, you can make that puzzle really hard and you can make it kind of easy, and depending on the difficulty selecting that you have there. And so we know we want to continue to leverage and lean on Scourges. So the way we're thinking about it is that the red stars will be acquired through a Scourge, and those red star Scourges would pop, say, once a month, right? So again, in this 3-month chapter, say month 1, we're going to pop a Scourge and maybe get 1 to 2 or 3 red stars of this legendary character, because you're starting to power up that character. And then in month 2, maybe you're getting the 3 to 4 or 5 range, right? And then by month 3, you're actually can get the 7th red star. And I think that also will keep Scourges around, and then we can make sure that you're playing basically a Scourge, a newer Scourge, once a month, right? And I think that's
The big thing I see as a miss with that is, what's the point of pushing on that? Because if that's how we're going to get the red stars, it means there's not going to be a leaderboard to get those red stars. So what's going to be the point of doing the max Scourges and doing the full run if there's nothing to push for? So that's kind of my worry about that. And I did kind of voice that as well.
something that I know for me, I love Scourges. I would be super excited for.
Yeah, I bet everyone will be excited because they'll get the great character by default from just playing the game, and then get a chance to power up through Scourges. So I think it's something I'm excited to see how that, again, players receive it.
Yeah, same.
This is the first live game I've worked on where there's never a shortage of ideas. Sometimes you're working on a game and it's like, oh, what should we do? We've got plenty of bandwidth. What should we do next month? But this one's always got 300 good ideas that you look at and go, oh, players would love this. This would be good for the game. And so we're just always kind of stuck by how much we can build at a time. And it's a good problem to have. But I wish we would build a little faster.
I totally agree. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Rich, to chat about the roadmap with me. Look forward to seeing what all of our players think about everything that we're making.
Yeah, this will be fun. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
All right, so overall, good ideas. Need to see how they get implemented. I do worry about two things. The first being the leaderboard for the Scourges. If they're getting rid of the leaderboards and making it to where everything's going to be like what we have currently in game, where if we look at the Old Man Logan trial, it's just rewards and milestones. There's no leaderboard on this after the first run. I think that would be a huge miss if they get rid of the leaderboard on there. And the other thing that we talked about was the Intel store. For the Intel store, the only thing that matters is G20. Everything else on here, I don't care about. I don't care about the character shards, which is a shame to say. The diamonds for top tier characters. If this is where we're getting Old Man Logan and Shadow King diamonds in here, that's a huge miss because of what overpowered can do. So it's either all or nothing on the overpowered situation until they kind of actually listen to the feedback, make the adjustments to what needs to happen with overpowered, because honestly, it feels like it's killing the game. That's why I haven't done as many videos. I was starting to ramp them up a little bit, and then I got burned out on it because of what this did to me in the game, and them just doubling down saying that overpowered's going to PvE. It just put a bad taste in my mouth, if I'm being honest. But sorry, this turned into more of a salty video than it meant to be. I was actually excited for this video. It's just kind of where I'm at right now. But if you guys did enjoy the content, at least give it a thumbs up, comment, share, subscribe. Until next time, have one for the rest of the day.